thereafter there was a reduction in compressive strength, and the maximum compressive strength was obtained with 5% of water content, and for particle having sizes below 425 micrometer. After the salinity test was conducted, for salinity test, we have taken 350 gram of sodium chloride and mixed through the 10 liters water, and the specimen having 5% of water content. That's the specimen shows the maximum compressive strength selected for doing the salinity test, and submerged in the saline solution for around 28 days. Thereafter, the compressive strength was tested. We know that the plastic materials are resistant to acid, base, heat, etc. It's chemically stable. So the salinity exposure has not much impact on the compressive strength of the developed bricks. This graph shows the variation of compressive strength with the particle sizes and already discussed. And the maximum compressive strength is shown by particle having size less than 425 micrometer and the water content 5% of water content, and combined particle sizes having compressive strength in between these two sizes. Okay, this is the detailed literature review, and it's a table showing comparison between the compressive specimen with that of conventionally using red clay brick, fly ash bricks, and bricks made from agroaquatic waste fibers. For a good building brick, the compressive strength should be greater than 3.5 megapascal, and from the experimental works, we have got a compressive strength value for 15.45 megapascal. And for a fly ash brick, the average compressive strength value is 12 MPa, and for conventional red clay bricks is 17 megapascal. So the compressive strength value of the developed specimen was very much better than fly ash bricks and is comparable with that of conventionally using red clay bricks. And the bricks made from after carrying out the literature review, we came to know that the bricks made from agroaquatic waste fibers shows compressive strength lower than that of the bricks made using waste plastic bottles and recycled aggregates. And agroaquatic waste such as sugarcane, 20% of sugarcane bagasse ash, and wheat, 15% of wheat husk, processed wasted tea, olive flour, and wheat straw residues shows much better compressive strength than that of the developed specimen. It is due to the hollow nature of the fiber materials. And coming to conclusions, after conducting, it's a small part of our work. We are planned to construct a wall using these eco bricks, but due to the pandemic, we cannot complete it. So it's a effective alternative for conventionally using clay bricks, because nowadays our construction is about sustainability, and our concern is over zero energy consumption and zero greenhouse gas emissions, and the developed specimens are low in cost and environmental friendly. So it is necessary for nowadays to concentrate more on sustainable building materials. So I am concluding here. Thank you for your time and patience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. First of all, I would like to give a floor to the floor if there is any question from comments from the floor.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you for your works. And then there is some questions, I think, coming from what they maybe if the presenter is already here, Deepka Sasi, you can
yeah
start.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. By adding, we have done a detailed literature review on agroaquatic waste fibers based construction bricks. By adding these fibers, the compressive strength is reduced, because if these fibers are added as a replacement for commonly using cement house, okay, so that by adding these fibers, the density was decreases. There's a direct relationship between density and compressive strength. By decreasing the density, there was a reduction in compressive strength. That's why by adding fibers, the compressive strength got reduced.
Okay, thank you. very much. Is there any comments, feedback from Sasi if there is regarding the question, the answer? Okay, yeah. So we still have 2 or 3 minutes left. I have a short question. Have you tried? Is there any application or is there or you already try this kind of approach using bottles, plastic bottles in the real construction?
Yes, we have planned to construct a wall using these plastic filled with concrete as it is. But due to the pandemic, we cannot complete it. We hope we can done them soon.
Okay, so it's already still in the laboratory. This
Yes, yes, yes.
work. Okay, I think is there any questions? If it's not, we can give we can end this first presenter session, and then thank you very much for your quite interesting research, and hopefully it can be applicable in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So next presenter. Wait. Sorry, I lost my schedule. 24. Okay, the next presenter is Loat Nainggolan.
Yes.
With traffic management of the construction zone on the freeway, with analysis of topic optimal transition zone to keep the performance of the road. Please.
Okay. Thank you, Sir.
Can you share the presentation? Share screen.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Yeah. If there is no yet PPT or share screen here. Do you have punya masalah lewat PPT-nya?
Enggak, Pak. Saya lagi
di sini nggak present soalnya.
Iya, ini saya lagi buka, Pak. Gimana, Pak ya?
Di bawah ada present now.
Peserta sekarang. Oke, buka.
Ya,
Lanjut, ada seluruh layar dan jendela, Pak, izin.
Yang terserah kamu mau layar kamu aja udah langsung.
Nah,
tapi, yang paling atas bisa nggak?
Tapi nggak keluar ya, Pak ya?
Atau window. Di sini oleh nggak keluar apa-apa. Kalau window kamu pilih yang PPT file PPT kamu tuh ada banyak window yang mau dipilih.
Oh, ini kayak gini Pak maksudnya Pak?
Coba diklik. Terus di share.
Di share, oke.
Oh, kalau ada problem kamu kirim ke share to Mutia.
Oh,
I think it's better for the other presentation to share your presentation to Mutia. So if there is a problem, she can help with the backup.
oke. Mutia.
Now it's working. Yeah.
Oke.
You can start.
Sip. Good afternoon, fellow participant and commit. I'm Loat Nainggolan. Today, I'm going to present my research entitled Freeway Work Zone Traffic Management and Analysis of Optimal Transition Zone for Maintaining Road Performance. Slide next. Okay. Lately, the Jor Freeway has been under construction or pavement coating. It often causes congestion on road segment before the point of the roadworks area. As a result, some the part of the road will be closed, impacting on the traffic condition. Therefore, traffic management is crucial at the location of the work zone, not only for sake of users' safety, but also the workers. In addition, the management is to be able to maintain road performance. Transition zone is when the traffic cone is first installed to direct the vehicle to narrow lanes or the unification of the roads. For this reason, research is needed to find of the ideal length of the transition zone so that the freeway traffic condition remain optimum. Concerning the background, we can identify problem that occur is the form of impact occurring at the level of service of the road performance. It has an impact on the narrowing of the road by reducing length in the freeway areas. Thus, a transition zone or taper is made. Thus, there are two research questions. Is the research what is the effect of the length of the transition zone or taper due to work zone of the surface level of traffic condition? And second, how does the length of the transition zone taper due to the work zone produce the optimal level of surface traffic condition? So, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear the objective of this research is to analyze the effect of the length of the transition zone caused by work zone and the level of surface traffic condition. So the ideal length of the transition zone is obtained. Thus, optimum level surface be gained. Next. Okay. Before further discussion, I would like to explain about safety zone concept on road zone. Concept zone is a method of dividing works location into five separate zones based on function. As you can see here, there are transition zone, warning zone, road work zone, termination zone, and safety zone. Their safety zone is part of road work zone. Next. In this study, traffic flow is defined as the interaction between driver on a road and its infrastructure. Thus, a parameter is needed to describe traffic flow quantitatively in order to understand the diversity of characteristic and range of behavior. In this study, the parameters used are the speed, density, and volume. The parameters were later processed as data for the research. In the research was used regression as a tool to help estimate the value of an unknown variable from one or several unknown variables. It is suitable to use because it analyzes the relationship between the independent, dependent, uncontrolled variable. Next, the variable the variable that involved in the study are the independent variable in this study is the length of the transition zone. The dependent variable is in this study in the traffic condition. Control variable in this study are field condition obtained from secondary data. So the flow of the research can be explained as follow. In the initial stage, the author identify the problem that occur at this time related of the traffic management on road development, especially tolls road. Then the study of literature relating to the problem was done to obtain basic knowledge is conducting research. Furthermore, strategic steps are taken the methodology to plan the research. Then secondary data was collected that determine the traffic condition that occur in the field from related vendors. After the data was collected, the data processing was performed to match the input or the latter modeling by using vSIM. Modeling was made by following the data that were obtained to produce data for analyze step. In the next step, an analysis was performed to the data related to see the relationship between the length of the transition zone or taper with the traffic condition due the work zone, the road work zone. Finally, the study conclusion were the, to the, drawn to the extent of the effect and ideal length on condition of the transition zone or taper to keep optimum traffic quality. Next. In the modeling procedure, there are seven steps as shown on the slide. After the data was processed to be adjusted with vSIM input parameter, modeling was carried or following the data held. Road section were adjusted to secondary data layout. Vehicle volumes were adjusted to average daily traffic data. In the simulation, variation in the length of the transition zone or taper in the first condition were adjusted to the layout, and the length variation were made as well. Next. Uh,
Next.
in the first condition, the size of the work zone was adjusted to the field condition of the same size, measure obtained from direct observation in the field were then entered to modeling with the obstacle attributes that exist in the in-PSIM. Furthermore, in displays several section areas that are useful for performing data collection point, but speed and density. The following are the observation areas that are divided into three areas. Namely, there are before the work zone, there are in the work zone, and they are after the work zone. So, after adjusting the data, a model simulation was performed. The model was carried of for 3,600 seconds or in a hour with measurement interval divided every 900 seconds or 15 minutes. From the from this data, the level of service produced were seen. In the second condition, our work zone size modification is adjusted to the failed condition by increasing the size along 100 meters. In the third condition, the work zone size modification, it adjusted the failed condition by reducing size along 100 meters. Next. In the table shown, there are difference between each measurement zone. In the transition zone, there are changes that occur in each scenario, while for the measurement are the work zone, and after that there is no change. Thus, that only the measurement area is the transition zone can be analyzed concerning the traffic condition. From the tree modeling, it can be generate a relationship between the length of the transition zone with traffic condition. The relationship between two in proportional according to the graph above with the question y sum 0.81 for 1 mean 0.0002x becomes the result of the relationship between the two. The greater the length of the transition zone taper, the better the level of service in, in traffic condition, and vice versa. This also applies to the opposite condition. The research location was the Toljor KM31, which is a large research location of the transition zone length or taper, because it is part of the freeway area that has a high enough service quality standard so that it has a minimum loss Ch with a minimum transition zone length of 370.5 meters to get a loss J. Next. So in this in this research conclusion can be drawn as follow. After the modeling was done, the results were processed to find the relationship between the length of the transition zone with the level of service. It was obtained a comparable relationship between the length of the transaction or taper with the level of service. The greater value of transition length, the better level of service. From the result of the relationship between the effect of the transition length or taper with the level of service of traffic condition, an analysis was performed to get the length of the transition zone to keep optimum traffic condition. The service level value calculated as a minimum value of loss G. The best value is shown is loss A from traffic condition. Next, uh, in case in the next research model, validation is expected to done first. The latter model can be ascertained according to condition in the file, which in this research were not proved due to COVID-19 pandemic. Stakeholder and to government responsible for the development or maintenance of toll road location are expected to be able to implement the result of this research in the future. It is hoped that works will not disturb the existing traffic condition on the road. That will be the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Loat. Is there any questions, comments from the floor? We still have very short 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. No comments. Oh, okay. Yeah, there is a comment from Rohikum.
Okay. The question is, in the what condition the graph study can be implemented? The studies graphs can be used on the toll road or freeways that have 3 lines where 2 lanes are for the road works zone and the other lane is for high speed or overtaking.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation and explanation. We can end the session and go to the third presenter with the Galuh Talita Ayu with green property brochure.
Yes.
Do green user prefers green residential? Yeah. Please.
Okay. Sorry. Is it showing now?
Yeah, it's running.
Okay. Okay. Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity and the given time. My name is Galuh Talita, and I'm a student from Department of Architecture, University of Indonesia, and as one of the authors, along with Mrs. Olva and Mr. Toga. I'm going to present about one of my research tools with the title of Green Property Brochure. Do green users prefer green residential? Okay. First thing first, here are the outline of the presentation. It will start with the introduction, then materials and methods, literature study about the research keywords such as green building, green user, and green residential property, followed by the literature study of what makes a green residential property. And after the literatures, we'll see the property brochures visualization, then closed with a conclusion. Okay, in the recent years, the concept of green building also shows as sustainable building has become one of the common interests in various scientific disciplines. It is as stated by Rageb, and Moser also stated that it is necessary to realize that one's consumption can make a difference, which we must also appreciate the benefits of things that are more environmental friendly. And one of the example of consumption in architectural context is buying a property that is also prioritize environmental friendly aspects in choosing it. And why do I choose green users as the subject? Well, in the context of this research, green users are actually refers to users of green building. So green building users in particular are educated and accustomed in doing benefits of green activities inside the building they work in. Green building users are also expected to appreciate the benefits of things that are more environmental friendly. And the provision of property brochure is one of the media in the research aimed at finding out whether users of green buildings have the desire to buy green residential properties compared to the ordinary one. Okay, the property brochure making, it begins with the literature study on the meaning of green property to what factors that influence the person in buying a property. Other than literature study, reviewing various of property brochures are also required as references in order to find some additional aspects which must be considered in making a property brochure. The factors found were elaborated and then visualized in a form of property brochures. After that, we can go on to make the property brochure visualization with the factors found from the literature study and references. The factors found were also elaborated in forms of two kinds of property brochures, which are the green property one and the non-green property one as the comparison. And the last step is brochure testing. Testing both brochures before using them as a research tool is required. Okay, the literature study started with the understanding about the green building, green user, and green property. So here are some highlights of the literature study that were found. The first one is, as mentioned by the USGBC, green building is the practice of designing, constructing, and operating buildings, maximizing the health and productivity of occupants, using less resources, reducing waste and negative impacts of the environment, and reducing life cycle cost. And Bandura also said about the relation of green building and its user in his research that it is closely related to how a person understands the surrounding circumstances, which causes differences in behavior between individuals even in the same room. And while building a property, demand and desire from buyers for green residential buildings should not only apply academic theory to express green residential buildings, but also consider the need of users. Okay, several studies has been conducted in order to classify the factors that influence someone to buy a green property, which generally influenced by the features offered by the concept of green buildings, including the number one is efficient use of resources, and then number two is low operational cost of buildings, number three is safe and healthy environment, the fourth one is access to green space, and then mobility, and then community planning and landscaping. As from the brochure references, some complementary aspects are also found, such as location, building facade, layouts, waste management, price, and apartment unit plans. Okay. This is the brochure visualization, the front page one. As I mentioned before, I tried to make and visualize two kinds of brochures. There are green property and non-green property. So the factors found were elaborated and then visualized in a form of property brochures. So for this research, two kinds are compared in order to let the green users compare and choose which brochure they would prefer rather than the other one. So two brochures were made, and as you can see, at first glance, they look the same, so that respondents could not judge them in terms of layout. So visualizing other differences based on factors in the literature were tried. So for example, community design is visualized with a picture of a space that provides community space for socializing with youth, which utilize natural lighting as much as possible, whereas the non-green property brochure provides community space which use a lot of artificial lightings. And safe and healthy environment and also access to green space are visualized with recreational space images that tend to have more green areas. And safe environment is also visualized in the superiority of apartment as 24-hour CCTV surveillance in the form of icons. And the efficient use of resources is also illustrated by the use of water treatment, smart home systems, and specification of environmentally friendly material used. So there is no efficient use of resources displayed in the non-green one. For the low operating cost factor, the green property brochure emphasized that the apartment building has low operating costs, but in the long run. In contrast, the non-green property brochure emphasized that the apartment building has low operating costs in the short term. And the last one in the front page is for landscaping. So the view of the green apartment building shown in the brochure is open and dominated by green areas. So they can see the green view. In contrast, the non-green property can only see the city view. And the back page, there is a picture of apartment unit display that looks familiar, but different in several aspects, where the size of the balcony in the green property brochure is actually bigger than the non-green property one. It is because the balcony of the apartment unit of green property provides a place to put plants. This is, in addition, the size of windows in green property building are also wider in order to be able to maximize the incoming natural light. It is also showed that green property brochure provides a clear building orientation here. The direction of the wind shows that the position of apartment building does not face directly on east and west, avoiding the direct sunlight. The green property brochure also implements waste sorting management, which means providing separate bins in the typical floor plan. Also shows that the placement of trash cans, while the non-green brochure does not apply any waste sorting management. So after all the steps mentioned before, we can now conclude that there are several aspects that must be considered in visualizing green property brochures, ranging from resource efficiency, low building operational cost, safe and healthy environment, access to green space, mobility, community planning, and landscaping. But there are also some complementary aspects such as technical, like layouts, text color, and text fonts, unit prices, building facade displays, apartment unit plans, and green building certificate and waste management system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, Galuh. There is one question from Novita Hilary Christy Dominic. Maybe you can make some response or comments to her thought, please.
Okay. Wait. Um, where is it? Where is it? Okay. Hi, Talita, I have one question. Is it applicable for if the brochures are used with non-green building users or people who doesn't work in a building? So it can also be applicable to the non-green buildings user, or even for the people who doesn't work in a building. But there are probably some aspects that should be adjusted before using it. Like um, I use the subjects uh, of a green user. It is assumed that the green users are actually educated and accustomed with doing green activities. So there must be some terms that are they are more familiar with. In contrast, normal people or non-green building users probably are unfamiliar with the term, so it has to be adjusted before using it.
Okay. Is there any comments from Novita? Okay. I have one questions
Mm-hmm.
or comments. In the reality, in the everything starting with green
Mm-hmm.
should be more expensive
Mm.
compared to the one with the comment. So, but in your browser, the green start is little bit, I mean, cheaper than compared to the convention, the normal one. What do you think about that?
Oh, which one?
Yes, this
um
700 compared to 800, isn't it?
it's
Or
600.
oh, okay, okay. Sorry.
So it is exactly
It's
like
much.
a bit higher,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because like as I mentioned before, they do have some technologies also to maintain the buildings. Like for example, the waste sorting management,
mm-hmm.
it won't be like as cheaper as the building who doesn't which doesn't apply that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
think we can end your session and we continue with the next presenter, Theodorus Wicaksono, with topics uh, theoretical studies on urban memory as sustainable urban design method. Yes, please. You can start.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can start to share your screen.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon to all participants, the presenters, and the reviewers whom I respect. First, I thank you for the opportunity given to me to present the result of my study. My paper is entitled Theoretical Study of Urban Memory as Sustainable Urban Design Approach. Uh, my name is Theodorus Cahyo Wicaksono. In the process of making this paper, I was guided by Mr. Antoni Sihombing, a lecturer in Department of Architecture, Universitas Indonesia. This paper is a theoretical study of urban memory in urban design. In this paper, I have done many studies from various books on urban design. Urban design has many approaches in the implementation process. Academics and practitioners complement each other to produce the best theoretical foundation and the best practice. The aim is to produce urban design and planning suitable for citizens who live in it. This theoretical study is expected to have an effect on urban design that emphasize the identity of the city and the sustainability of the city as important in design. The research method in this paper, I did a literature study on memory and its relation to urban design. I learned from many books about the identity of city, urban memory, urban space, and so on. I quote many opinions from experts, from architect, urban designers, and then I associate one opinion with another, thus forming a synthesis. From this study, I get a theoretical basis that can be used as an approach to sustainable urban design. The theoretical basis can be a paradigm that is considered in the practice of urban design and urban planning, especially for those who consider urban memory as forming the identity and sustainability of the city. This theoretical study applies to enrich the insight and paradigms for urban design that is applied to cities that already exist. The cities that already develop, sustain, without leaving the original identity and character. The background, humans are individual beings and social beings. As individual beings, humans have unique and different characters. As social beings, humans are creatures that are mutually interconnected with other humans. Humans act with one another so that social interaction is established. The interaction will be full of meaning when there is something that is interconnected or connected. Social social interaction will be realized through the create social space, reflecting on the statement of the importance of connectedness in social interaction. Uh, Social space will also be able to talk about many things when there is an element of connectedness that underlies it. This connection is achieved through physical as well as non-physical elements. Non-physical connectivity is achieved through cultures, history, religion, beliefs, and society values. Meanwhile, physical connectivity can be achieved through human urban space. There are livability, identity, and so on. A city with space in it must be authentic and meaningful. Urban design is inseparable from how to create the best container for the users. The users is humans. Humans become the core of the urban design. City forms are the result of various social processes that occur within it. The existence of a city has two fundamental essence, namely physical essence and social essence. Okay. Then urban memory. The city is not only inhabited by a group of people, but from various groups in with different cultures, norms, lifestyle, activities, and symbol. All of these things change and develop over time. The time element is essential in the meaning of urban space. Although element of the city experience change in a time that is always moving sustainably, some essential things that contain a strong identity should be maintained. Thus, the change that occur can lead to something good for the image of the city. Okay. In this perspective, the role of urban memory becomes essential so that cities can always develop in the right direction by not leaving their true identity. Urban memory is a reflection of the city constructed like celebration for itself. Here I quote some opinions from figures from experts in architecture, urban design, historians. Fiedler said that image of the city that enabled the citizens to identify with its past and present as a political and cultural and social entity. And Aldo Rossi said cities are locus of collective memory, where urban forms are collection of culture from the past and for the future. And Ralph said that people are their places and a place is its people. And Curtis said that memory is rarely without contradiction and it must be compromised in order to function. And Yifut once said that space needs memory and experience to be a place. Then urban memory as a representation of the city. The idea of collective memory was put forward by Aldo Rossi. He argues that cities are a locus of collective memory. Then the collective memory develops through several interconnected connections between place, history, and event. And
Yeah,
then,
sorry, we have 3 minutes left. Could you please?
oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And collective memory develop. Okay, maybe I can. Okay, and a place in urban space can be said soulless when it has an inherent character of identity, and the soul of the place can continue to develop physical perception or sensitivity from interpreting experience that come from the past or the present. And urban memory is one of the approaches to improve the imageability of a city. Public space with high imageability tends to persist in getting public attention because it has the power to form a focus that is more than ordinary experience. Sorry. And then from my study, I have the theoretical basis after discussing what urban memory is, why urban memory, how urban memory is formed, what paradigms urban designers must have. I produce the following synthesis. Humans are the core of urban design. The city develops over time. In its development, urban transformation produces crucial linkage between people and context. In the element of sustainable time, the city develop, I name it as ongoing process. In the process, the city actually has a certain image and identity. If there is no, urban designer must search, discover, and strengthen the city image and the city identity. Uh, One approach to forming the image and the identity of the city is urban memory. Urban memory is formed from the relationship between place, history, and event. All of them lead to the imageability of the city. The balance between them is absolute. I think I quote about heritage time and developer times. Heritage time is the past, and developer time is the future that always comes. And the balance between them is absolute. Urban memory is important, but urban designers still have to look ahead in the modernity of city development. Thus, urban memory can become a sustainable urban design approach. The designer can take history and modernity. And the conclusion is the urban memory approach enables city dwellers to be able to recognize and identify their cities from the past and the present. Urban memory is a way for the city to be constructed or formed as a celebration of itself. Cities are formed by three factors: identity, structure, and meaning. Identity and structure are physically manifestation of urban space, while meaning is generated from human experience in feeling urban space. The city will always develop over time. In this journey, the city can form an identity from its internal memory and the modernization process phase in the present and the future. Urban memory is formed by the human experience of an urban space, which is inherent in its history and social environment. At this point, I argue that urban memory is one approach that can be used in urban design to present sustainable meaning, sustainable character, and sustainable identity of a city. This is my presentation. Thank you for your time and the opportunity.
Thank you, Theodorus. Quite
Yeah.
interesting within this current context. I have a short question in a very limited time. if you from your
Okay.
knowledge, if we put your presentation or your topics in the Jakarta context, we know that Jakarta start from in many years ago it was a kampung, we call it kampung, and then and growing up to be a city. Uh, does it affect the social interaction when the kampung become a large city like Jakarta?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the question. I think it's very difficult if we apply urban memory for Jakarta, because Jakarta is very yes, we know lah. Uh, but I have a study uh, outside the Jakarta in Muntilan in Magelang. One method I use is to do research using cognitive maps. So the method is often referred to as, maybe we call it, about participatory design, because it involves citizens directly in the design. So the citizens are given the opportunity to write, to draw, to tell their memory of the city. Then I summarize and compile the result of their writings, of their pictures, of their stories, and the most result are citizen collective memory of the city. And we use the collective memory as an ideas and concept in our design. Maybe that's my
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
thank you.
We can continue to the following presenter, Rohikum Noberta, with topics the solution of traffic signals timing by using fuzzy logic algorithm. Please. Pak Rohikum udah bisa mulai, silakan.
I'm sorry, I forgot to click my voice. Do you see my presentation, sir?
It's clear now.
Okay. Thanks for my time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I would like to say thank you for coming in my presentation. It's great to see you all. Let me introduce myself. I'm Rohikum Noberta from Jakarta. I work in Indonesian National Police as a traffic police. Today, I will present my article topic about the solution of traffic signal timing by using fuzzy logic algorithm. Okay, let's move on the next slide. Background. First, traffic congestion is one of the critical problems to be resolved to improve the economy of any country. Where the proper way of controlling traffic congestion is done by using traffic signal. So we can maximize the usage of traffic signals in reducing the level of traffic congestion in Indonesia. The second, the aim of the traffic congestion problem is to minimize the delay in route by effectively using the existing traffic signal system without constructing new roads. Third, by paying attention to the input data, both quantitative and qualitative variables in determining the signal time can extend the green light signal with the physiologic approach. Next slide. I got two research objectives. First, analyzing the performance of signalized intersection based on analysis of signal time, volume, degree of saturation, queuing, capacity, average delay, and advanced stop lines, or ASL in Boulevard BSD Tangerang, Banten. Second, in the study, proposed an integrated model combines physiologic and physiologic algorithm to controlling the proposed traffic conditions based on if-then fuzzy rules as a basis for decision makers. Let's move on the next slide. In the research method section, I used a quantitative approach that was combined with a qualitative approach. Then the source of the data I obtained was obtained from data collection in the field and was supported by secondary data obtained from various sources. Here I make three scenarios. The first with the calculation of data in the field, then the data in the field that we combine with the physiologic model in the transit application, then the last scenario combined with the additional of transit plus IESL, then we compare the data from three scenarios. Move on the next slide. Research side. I take the picture with my drone DJI Mavic Pro. This research is a case study planned for 1 month, starting in March to April 2020, which is located on the Boulevard BSD Tangerang in 4 phase. Phase 1, north. Here the north is the east, south, and the west. East, north, and the south is the same road. East and west is the same road. BSD Grand Boulevard for north and south. East and west, BSD Raya Utama Road. Next, move on the next slide. The steps in this model are: 1. Enter the geometric characteristic of the intersection where BSD Boulevard is the intersection. The second, in the traffic flow model, I will describe as follow. Classification input, entering the field data that we get into the form of numerical value. Then the fuzzy row stage, I put it in the software machine that we use, Transit 12. Then we define the diffusification output process from the previous stage. Then put it into the timing of the signal so that the optimal intersection performance value is obtained. Move on the next slide. Result and discussion. As you can see, we get three scenarios. The one is field data. The second, transit optimization with transit. The third scenario is optimization after the transit. I combine with IESL or advanced stop line. This picture is for the field data where I got in the field. First, based on the analysis of the result of the green time needed in each phase of the north approach with field data obtained 17, 17 seconds. Yellow time and red time, it means amber time, each for 3 seconds. So I summarize it for 6 seconds with a total of outpace reaching 101 seconds. The second, after optimizing the performance of the intersection with the transit program, obtained a longer green time of 55 seconds with a total of outpace reaching 206 seconds. Likewise, the optimization of the intersection performance in phase 2, 3, and 4 experienced a significant change in green time based on the high degree of saturation in the north, south, west, and then east phase. Then do the intersection performance optimization using transit and IESL. Obtain a longer time than previous condition, namely the green phase north time to 66 seconds with a total of all phase reaching 244. Next, the result and discussion. As you can see, the data where I make in table the first result. The result of calculation using transit optimization and edit IESL, fuzzy availability produce optimum intersection performance when saved from the degree of saturation, number of vehicle capacity, and low average delay compared to field data. Second, the result also show that the performance of BSD Tangerang Boulevard at an average delay result in 44.95 seconds per passengers per unit for field data. The average delay was smaller to 16.27 seconds per PCU or passenger car unit for optimization of transit, while the average delay with optimization while the average delay with optimization of transit and ASL produced 12.98 seconds per passenger car unit. It is the end of my page. Conclusion. 1. Calculation for obtaining signal time can be done by utilizing the transit combined with IESL optimization contained in the transit computer program, and the performance produced using the transit plus IESL fuzzy program is smaller than the delay generated by field data. Second, the average intersection delay of field data is 44.95 seconds per TCU, transit optimization 16.27 seconds per PCU, and transit ISL optimization 12.698 seconds per PCU. It means the level of service of the transit ISL is the best other than two scenario before. Level of service of transit ISL in point B. As you can see, A is the best and F is traffic jam. Thanks. It's the last for my presentation. Thank you for all coming to my presentation. Thank you.
Waalaikum, there is a question from Novra.
Okay. The egg slide.
Which one's the best? method.
Next slide. The slide shows the three calculation method. Which one is the best between those three? Like I explained before, the best method is transit combined with AFL. We can get 12.98 seconds per passenger car unit. As you can see at point B, between 10 until 20. That is my answer for your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Waikum. So we can end your presentation. Then we can continue to the next. Sorry. Novita Hillary Christy Damanik with a primary preliminary study of the production and fire clay brick for with reinforcement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it showing?
Yes, it's work.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity and the given time for me to present my research. My name is Novita, and I'm a student from Department of Architecture, Universitas Indonesia, and with me, Mr. Dalhar Susanto and Emir Hadi, who are also part of the team. Today, I will present my early stage of research with the title, A Preliminary Study of the Production of Unfired Clay Brick with Reinforcement. So here's the outline of my research. First will be the introduction, where I will tell about the research background and the aim of the research. Second will be the content of material and method that I use in the research. Third will be the result and discussion. And the last one is the conclusion. So first, there are three principles of sustainable development goals, as we know, like social, environment, and economy. Architecture and construction plays a role in achieving these goals, especially in environment, because they contribute to high carbon emission and high energy consumption, which further lead to environmental damage. Building material is one of the main factors that cause environmental damage. Earthen material like clay brick has been used since thousands of years ago and is one of the most popular and most used building materials. The ruin in Harapabuhan is one of the evidence that earthen material, specifically clay brick, has been used a long time ago. There are two common methods or technique to produce clay brick. The first one is by sun drying, and the second one is by kiln firing. The second method, though, requires high energy consumption and, of course, emits carbon. The production needs 2 kilowatt-hour of energy and 0.4 kilograms of carbon emissions and contribute 7% of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, further studies related to how to produce a greener clay-based brick without firing by adding reinforcement is needed. Previous studies have been using natural fibers such as hemp, straw, sisal, coir, and sugarcane to make unfired clay brick with reinforcement, which showed positive results in mechanical properties, especially compressive strength. There's also a study which used the extraction of fermented vegetables that is usually used for soil stabilization. And Zulkifli had studied this fermented vegetable in clay brick as liquid content in the mixtures to see its impact in mechanical strength. So this paper is a small part of my research which aimed to elaborate the production of unfired clay brick by using natural fiber and extraction of fermented vegetables as reinforcement or stabilizer, and to find out the effects on physical properties such as dimension, texture, and discoloration. The scope of this research is only in the technical aspects of the production. For the preparation of the materials, sugarcane bagasse fiber was obtained near Depok, West Java. the fiber was dried and cut into short fiber for 1 to 1.5 centimeter as suggested by Sally, which length is the most optimum length for sugarcane bagasse fiber as an additive in clay brick. The clay that I used in this research was obtained from Pleret, Purwakarta, which is known as the best clay to produce pottery, brick, tiles, and the clay's ready-to-use product. The fermented vegetables was also prepared by using 5 types of vegetables, such as cucumber, long bean, spinach, cabbage, and water spinach, and also yeast to catalyze the fermentation as a catalyst in the fermentation. By using the mold of 50 by 50 by 50 millimeter to make the samples for the next testing in a compressive strength. This experiment is manually produced without the help of a machine to test the brick. There are 3 different mixtures. The first one is the control specimen without additives. The second one is X, which contains only fermented vegetables with a percentage of 5 to 10%. And the last one is Y samples, which contains both sugarcane short fiber and the extraction of fermented vegetables. Here's the detail of the preparation of the fermented vegetable, which is actually familiar with the called bioenzyme. Here we need water, brown sugar, all the vegetables that I've mentioned before, yeast as the catalyst, jerrycan, digital scale, and other tools. The steps to make this bioenzyme is first clean the jerrycan, make sure no dirt's left, and then next we wash all the vegetables and then cut the vegetables into small pieces, pour water and sugar into the jerrycan with 10:1 ratio and mix it until dissolved, and then put the small pieces of vegetables into the jerrycan and add 1 teaspoon of yeast and shake it for the last time. And finally, close the lid tightly, open it daily to remove the gas, and the bioenzyme should be ready in 3 months. So after all the materials are ready, here's the steps of the production. The first one is preparation, and then mixing, casting, curing, and observation. In the mixing part, the raw materials are poured into a bowl according to the trial mixture, and then mix evenly for 5 minutes into a homogeneous, and then rest the mixture for 1 minute before casting. In the casting part, first lubricate the mold with water to prevent stickiness, and then pour the mixture into the mold and compact it thoroughly by 3 different layers. And then flatten the surface using ruler and smoothen using water. And then after that, we release the mixture from the mold. After releasing it, cure it at room temperature for 28 days. And after 28 days, we will see the dimension, the discoloration, and the texture. So producing the brick samples encountered some difficulties, especially in casting the samples. C and X were difficult to be casted due to the extremely clayey properties, different from the Y samples because there was a natural fiber of sugarcane in the mixture, so that during removal from the mold, it is easier. Some other differences were during the stirring process. Samples containing sugar fiber were drier compared to samples that do not contain sugar fiber. This was due to the fiber properties of sugarcane that quickly absorb water. Some other obstacles were on the Y samples. The potential for flimsy or fragile samples was greater than the samples without fiber and created small cavities. However, the positives were the Y samples had a more stable shape compared to C and X. And then after days of curing, the samples were observed. The color, as you can see by the first picture on the left here, the first one is mixture C and the second one is mixture X. C has more lighter color than the X. And the difference of the color occurred because the addition of the fermented vegetable. Somewhat the samples containing the extraction of fermented vegetables have darker color. The cracks here occurred in the 3rd week of curing. The cracks occurred only at the bottom of the samples and mostly occurred in C and X. The Y with sugarcane fiber had small cavities due to the existence of short fiber. For further research, the use of more refined fiber is suggested to see if it would still create small cavities. The overall texture from samples without sugarcane fiber was bumpy and not as smooth as expected to an extremely clayey mixture. So based on the measuring result of 30 samples per specimen, shrinkage occurs, as can be seen in the table, that sample C has an average dimension of around 41 millimeter. Sample X has an average dimension of 41.6, and in sample Y, the average dimension is 47.7. C had the highest shrinkage rate compared to the X and Y. The shrinkage rate of Y was the lowest because of the existence of sugarcane bagasse fiber in the samples that stabilized the shape so that minimized the depreciation. The highest dimension occurred at almost 10 millimeter that occurred in sample C. Yeah. So, to conclude, the effect on visible properties such as dimension, texture, and color are: but first, by adding fiber, the mixture is not sticky and the shape is more stable. Second, due to the fiber, the brick has small cavities on each surface during curing time. Crack occurs only at the bottom of the sample during curing time. And C has the highest shrinkage rate, Y has the lowest shrinkage rate, and X has darker color. There are also some suggestions for the next research that should be considered in making unfired clay brick. The first one, the mold should be extended at least 1 centimeter from the desired brick size. And further experiment, the sample should be rotated accordingly to minimize the cracks that occurred only at the bottom during the curing time. Further research related to compressive strain suggested whether these bricks have different mechanical properties. Okay, I think that's all about my research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there is a question from Galuh. Maybe you can read in the chat box and answer it, please.
Okay. Oh, actually, the shrinkage value is the result from subtraction of the final size from the original size to find the amount of shrinkage. For example, if the sample shrinks from 50 millimeter to 40 millimeter, subtract 40 from 50, resulting in 10 millimeter of shrinkage. After that, divide the shrinkage result by the original size to find the shrinkage rate. So we divide the 40 and divide the 10 into 50. So we will get 0.5 shrinkage rate. Is that clear, Talita?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. We can continue to the next presenter, the last two, Nofra Anumasta, with the title of presentation, comparison of road pricing, cordon and corridor base.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity given. My name is Nofra. I am a final year student at Universitas Indonesia, majoring transport engineering. I am going to present my paper titled Comparison of Cordon and Corridor-Based Road Pricing on Alternative Road Network Performance, a preliminary study on Jakarta case. This study is supervised by my two lecturers, namely Prof. Sutanto and Mrs. Nahri. To be noted that this presentation is part of my final assignment, which is currently being held up because of the COVID-19 pandemic issue that prevents me from collecting further primary data on the subject. Therefore, this presentation will be covering only the review of initial method of said research. So the structure of this quick presentation is as follows. First one, background of the study. then road pricing in general, research question and study case, main objective, proposed methodology, traffic assignment, and the last one is the expected result. As we know, road congestion or traffic jam is one of many transport problems, especially in big cities. It arises because the growth of private vehicles is not allowed by the growth of the road development and increase the volume capacity ratio of the road, thus the congestion appears. Why it matters? There are many negative impacts caused by congestion, directly or indirectly, tangible or not, such as waste of vehicle, fuel, air pollution, time loss, decreasing the quality of life, and so on. In general, there are two main approaches to solve the issue, from supply side and demand side. And road pricing is one of the tools from the demand side to control number of volume of vehicles on the designated zone. And the main idea of road pricing itself is to make all motorists, in this case private vehicle users, pay directly for driving on a particular road or in a particular area. Road pricing is one of traffic demand management instruments that is believed by many experts quite effective to reduce congestion level on the designated zone. Singapore was the first city implemented it in 1975, and New York is going to be the first American city to implement it in Manhattan area next year. In Singapore case, in 1975, based on a study conducted by Fang and Tok in 2004, it was found that number of vehicles successfully reduced to 75.2% during the implementation hours. But in other hand, the traffic increased 21.9% before the implementation hours and increased 6.9% after the implementation hours. At the time, the road pricing was implemented from 7:30 to 9:30 in the peak hour in the morning time. Another study conducted in 2014 using virtual grid network, it shows that road pricing has the potential to cause unexpected congestion to the network outside zone. Those two studies show that the implementation of road pricing has direct effects on how road users using the road to get to their trip destination from point A to B, such as some of them might shift to available public transport or still using their vehicles but modifying their travel time or detouring using alternative roads to avoid the road pricing charge. This study will focus on the last item of the consequence and to evaluate the performance of alternative road networks outside the designated zone. The research question, there are two research questions. The first one regarding the price itself, how much should be the charge? And the second one regarding impacts on alternative roads, how is the performance of the alternative roads outside the designated zone? The study will be simulated on Jakarta road networks using SCBD area as the designated zone, and two schemes of road pricing will be compared, namely cordon-based and corridor-based. So the objective of the study is to compare the alternative road network performance outside the designated road pricing zone between cordon-based and corridor-based. Road network performance to be evaluated refers to vehicle capacity ratio and average speed of the road. Proposed methodology mainly contains these 8 steps. The first one is to collect all related secondary data such as origin destination, road network attributes itself, then socioeconomic of the or profile of the city, then the selection of the designated zone. It can be based on Jakarta Master Plan and related road pricing studies. Then to conduct interview survey with target respondents, especially private vehicle users. The survey is to get information on their travel characteristics, socioeconomic, travel preference, ability to pay and willingness to pay, and value of time. The respondents will be randomly selected from 3 groups of road users, depends on the location of zone charging designer. The first group is respondents from outside the zone who use the road within the zone. The second one is the respondent who live within the zone. And the last group is respondent who do not use the roads in the zone. The fourth step is conducting traffic counting and speed survey. This is to validate the network model. Then the result from the interview survey is to be used for formulation of charge as the basis of penalty to be used on the traffic assignment. Then traffic assignment with 3 main scenarios: do nothing, do something with cordon, and do something with further phase. Then all the results will be analyzed, and the last is to make conclusion of the study. Traffic assignment will be used 4-step model to achieve user equilibrium condition. Route selection is based on the shortest, fastest, cheapest, and assume that the driver has enough information so that he can determine the best route. Traffic assignment will be simulated with software of ME4. And the last slide, the expected result. The result expected to answer the research questions are as follows. A fair amount of charging SIM is believed as a key success to convince the citizens to accept road pricing policy. The remarking of road pricing revenue, such as to improve public transport service, needs to be introduced to the citizens during the interview survey, so that they can understand more benefits they can get from the road pricing. Then road pricing has the potential to cause unexpected congestion to the network of that zone. The effects of road pricing for both SIMs to the performance of road network of the designated zone can be evaluated from the result of road network segment that will be done. And the last one, road pricing is expected to give better performance to whole road network. And as Mariama and Sumali study result. That is all of my presentation. Hopefully everyone can get the main ideas of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nofra. There is one question from Loat, if you can see in the chat box.
What are the parameters you use to adjust the existing condition of the modeling? The parameters used are the price and the price of the charging itself, and the area of designated zone. So these two will be used as a variable to decide the pricing for the road pricing. I think that's it. Is it already clear? A lot.
No comments from Loat? If it's not, then we can end this session and then continue with the following presenter, the last presenter in this session. Okay, thank you, Nofra, for your presentation. Okay, the last one is Winda Pratiwi. Is there Winda here? Who will present? Enggak ada ya. Okay. Is there any students or presenter who will present the health risk analysis of heavy metal pollution in groundwater near landfill area? Okay. If it's no presenter, then I think we can end this session. Thank you very much for everybody who attends this session, and then would like say sorry or please accept my apologize if there's something miss or do not appropriate in this session. Thank you very much, and see you in the next session of the conference. Thank you.